Well, good afternoon to all. Welcome to the Chai Academy. I am Rabbi Sachs, your host for today. So, we have been discussing Jewish ethics and beliefs, and the topics vary, but it's all under that banner of ethics and beliefs. So, Yesterday's discussion was a fascinating one. Is can you say, I was just following orders, like the Nazis said. Hi, Aileen. Right, like the Nazis said, or like Eichmann said, etc. So we discussed that at great length, and you can always see previous classes, and by going to thechaicenter.com/academy. Today's discussion is going to be on good inclination and bad inclination. So, Sigmund Freud, he had something that he posited, and it was called the id, the ID. Right? So the id is what he said, that every human being has an id. It's a repository of aggressive, negative instincts, negative energy, it's amorality, etc. So Judaism actually has a similar concept, except we don't call it the id, we call it the yid. So Judaism says, yes, we do have a yetzer hara. We do have an evil inclination, something that leads us off to a selfish path. We also have a yetzer tov, a good inclination, that leads us on a selfless path. But we do have the selfish side. And what it's taught is interesting, is that the yetzer hara, the evil inclination, which we'll have to define that in a minute, the bad inclination, let's not call it evil, the bad inclination we have, it's fully matured at birth. As soon as the babies are born, mazel tov, and this baby has a yetzer hara, right? A selfish side. Over time, the yetzer tov, the good inclination, the selfless, the inclination that is inclined towards good, God, helping people, that comes in stages. So the bad inclination is right away. The good inclination comes in stages and is finally fully formed when we become an adult. The question is, at what age are we an adult? And by the way, there's empirical evidence to this. Take an infant, right? An infant, there's no altruism with an infant. An infant will cry in the middle of the night, wake both parents up. The parents have had no sleep now in weeks, but the infant doesn't have a consciousness, an inclination to say, enough already. You're torturing these people. Right? All it has is, I want to eat, I want to this, I want to that, I want to be up, I want my mommy, I want my daddy. And slowly but surely over time, the infant is a toddler. Now the toddler has a little bit of a good inclination because it's taught that you have to share, and it's not you're not a Roman official, and where you can just take things that you want that don't belong to you, right? And as we get older and older and older, our yetzer tov, our good inclination, will give our bad inclination. I'm taking away that term evil, that bad inclination, a run for its money. Now, is the infant at fault? Is this little baby that cries? Is this little baby that wakes the parents up every 2 hours, and maybe every 1 hour, because eat, poop, and eat and poop, right? Is it bad? Is it a fault? Is it wrong? Is it, would you call this infant ruthless? And the answer is no. The infant is not bad at all. It's just has no altruism, just thinks of its own comfort. And it can't process anybody else's comfort because it can't. It doesn't have that within him. So says the Kabbalah, that, and not only Kabbalah, even basic Talmudic texts, or Ecclesiastes talks about it, that the bad inclination that we have is not necessarily bad. It's selfless, but selfless doesn't mean bad. Okay. The Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, not only is it not bad, it's good. So essentially, to sum up, to recap, we have two inclinations. One is not really bad, and the other is really good. You see, to be created as evil, lethal, murderers, created that way, rapists, philanderers, thieves, that's not part of God's plan. Yes, we can morph if we're not careful. We can morph into a murderer, a thief, a corrupt. We can morph into that. And by the way, as we know, power, absolute power, corrupts absolutely. It's just the way it happens. So we can morph into that. However, we don't have to. If the Yetzer Hara was bad and evil, then we say, okay, we're bad, we're evil. But it's not bad. It just cares about itself, the body that it's in. That's it. There's no other MO. There's no other MO. There's no other agenda. There's no other. It just cares about itself. So therefore, a human being, an infant that's fed, that's cleaned, that's played with, and has a pacifier, will sleep. And if it's not feeling well, so then here it comes. The body's not feeling well, so therefore I'm going to wake up mom and dad because I am not feeling well. It's not bad. It's not bad. So we have to understand. So why is it called Yetzer Hara? Why is it called bad inclination when it's not really bad? Because once again, if we're evil from birth, then first of all, heaven help us. Secondly is, hey, my name is Charles Manson and I was created that way. Sue me. Right? So no, God didn't create Charles Manson to do what he did. God didn't create Son of Sam to do what he did. God didn't create Bernie Madoff to do what he did. Not so. Because if God said, okay, Bernie, I'm going to create you rotten to the core. We already established yesterday that we have free will. But you have free will at any time and every time, and that's a truism. But Bernie, I'm going to create you rotten. I'm going to create you innately a thief. God didn't do that. Bernie Madoff didn't have a bigger Yetzer Hara than the next guy. My Yetzer Hara is not smaller than Bernie Madoff's. Bernie Madoff is Bernie Madoff. So why is it called bad? So it's called bad because it is in pursuit of happiness. And that's not necessarily bad. It can be bad. If it's to the exclusion of all others, then it can be bad. But if it's not to the exclusion of all others, and it's just in pursuit of itself, then it's good. So let me give you an example. A Yetzer Hara. If we didn't have a Yetzer Hara, we wouldn't have a house. We wouldn't marry. We wouldn't have a spouse. We wouldn't have kids. We wouldn't have a business. So what the Yetzer Hara is a drive, right? Is a drive to have these things. Now, in order to have these things, there has to be something in it for me. So, a house, yeah, I want to live in a nice house. So therefore, I'm going to strive, honestly, has to be honest, otherwise it's bad. But I'm going to strive so I can have a nice house. Is that bad? No. I'm going to strive to have a spouse. Why? Because I want somebody to live my life with. I want to have a friend with benefits, legally, halachically. And is that bad? No, it's holy, in fact. And therefore, because I am now married, because I want to have a person to live the rest of my life with, and I want to have friends with benefits, I'm going to have sexual relations. I'm going to have sexual intercourse. Now, is sexual intercourse bad? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The sexual intercourse is holy. Right? Nachmanides says it's akin to godliness. So while it's called in colloquial the nasty, it's anything but it is pleasurable. And so therefore, there's a drive to do it. You want to have a nice house, you have a drive, you get the house. You want to have someone to live with, someone to love, someone to love you, right? And basically unconditionally, or with some conditions, then you marry. Oh, now you want sex. Great. It feels good. Great. What if sex didn't feel good? What if sex wasn't pleasurable? Right? If sex wasn't pleasurable, right, then there'd be less people having sex. So sex is personally pleasurable. Intimacy gives us a lot to ourselves. It's a give and take, but it's a give. So therefore, it's called selfish. But you have kids from that. And you have a great married life, and you have a great sex life, which is holy. So and then business. You have a drive to have a business. You know, I think King Solomon said it best in Koheles, in Ecclesiastes. He says, I notice that all labor and skillful enterprise and success comes from envy. So the Torah tells us we're not allowed to be envious, right? It's in the Decalogue. It's one of the 10 Commandments. But King Solomon said, no, there's a healthy envy, however. I want to have success. I don't want to be lazy. Right? I don't want to be lazy. So-and-so inspires me. That's a healthy envy. So-and-so can make it. So-and-so is in this business and he can make it. So too, I can be in this business. I can make it. Right? You gotta believe that Apple and IBM look at each other's products and say, what can I do to improve? So we have a great business. So I want to have leg up on the competition. Leg up on the competition means you're looking at them and you're envious of them and you want to outsmart them. Is that bad? No, it's not bad. If you seek to sabotage their company, that's bad. That's evil. But if you want to succeed in your company and you look at what the other companies are doing, what they're charging, what their software is, what their hardware is, who they hired, who's their consult, etc., you'll also hire Ernst & Young. You'll hire Ernst & Young just like another company hired Ernst & Young because you want to be successful. And that's competition. Competition is not bad. When you try and stamp out the competition, that's mafia. But to be competitive in order to succeed, that's what the Yetzer Hara does. Once you've succeeded with a healthy dose of Yetzer Hara, you now take that success, and the Yetzer Tov, right, tells you, okay, you've succeeded, you have a wife, you have a husband, don't abuse him. Right? Don't have sex when you're angry. Don't force yourself upon your partner. Don't get the nicest house with somebody else's money. So the Yetzer Tov keeps you in check. The Yetzer Hara, simplicit in its most simplicit form, in its holiest form, just wants nice things. But if you start delving into getting nice things on someone else's back, that's evil. Otherwise, it's basic Yetzer Hara. You have a need, a sexual need. You have sex. You have a sexual want. You want to be loved. You want to be intimate. So you do that, and it's holy, and it's good, and it's great. So, if it was just about having kids, then the Torah would forbid sex as the nasty. But it's not all about having kids. It's about having pleasure, satisfaction, physical gratification, which is very different, by the way, than Catholics. The Catholics, basically the priests are not allowed to have sex. Judaism, the greatest rabbi can have sex, which means what sex means. The Catholics said, okay, so you can have sex, but it's realized that it's just the temptation is too great. Judaism says malarkey. Temptation is there for you to have gratification and give your spouse gratification, and that's holy. So it's a very, very different approach than Catholicism. Now, we have to make sure. So competition's good, sexual intercourse is good, having a nice, beautiful house, 1 acre zoning with a pool is good, is beautiful. Having, trees is good. Having nice shades is good. Having nice mezuzahs is a must. And remember, you'll know when you're misaligned is if you buy the nicest curtains or the nicest shades, electronic and sun darkening, and it's automatic and it's this and that and the other, but you balk at an outlet. You balk at thank you, Steve. You balk at a mezuzah. You balk and say, no, I'm not paying. What, are you crazy? I'm going to pay $55 for mezuzah. You just paid $1,005 for your shade. And you balk at a mezuzah, that's when you know your Yetzer Hara is out of whack. Right? But if you say, nice shades, nice mezuzah, nice paint, I got a nice bookshelf full of Jewish books, as well as Herman Walk and James Patterson. I have some nice bookcase of Jewish books as well. Then you're aligned, you're balanced, you're Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Tov, everything's hunky-dory. So what you need to do, however, thanks, Amy. Yeah, if anybody needs a mezuzah check, we'll wear mask. Have mezuzahs and mask, and a car. So what you need to do is analyze, am I in balance? Is my Yetzer Hara, has it become evil, or is it just wants good things? Is my Yetzer Tov, is it weak? Is it pushing myself to the max? So you need to analyze yourself, and then you need to correct yourself. Okay, which inclination needs improvement? Yetzer Tov, we've got to give you more time with prayer. Yetzer Hara, I don't like the way you are acting with your money. It's all about your ego. Don't like it. And in fact, in the Shema, right? The Shema, the holiest prayer, the Jewish creed. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. That's verse 1. The second verse is, you shall love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. So the sages say, it doesn't say libecha. It doesn't say love your God with all your heart. It says love your God with all your hearts, levavcha, which means love your God with your good inclination and your bad inclination. Put your selfish inclination to work for God. Right? Which means having intimacy with one spouse is holy for God. Having I'm not going to call it intimacy at all, but having sex with someone else's spouse is Yetzer Hara, evil. So there's two levels. There's the one where you focus on self, which is holy, and then there's the other part of Yetzer Hara, which if you're not careful, if you don't keep it in check, can be a Bill Clinton with who knows how many. Magic Johnson, I think it was even worse. They asked Magic Johnson, "How'd you get AIDS?" And he says, "From whom?" He goes, "I can't even begin. I can't even begin to know." Right. So let me give you a concrete example. You have a healthy ego, and you want people to know. You want to become famous. You want people to know who you are. You want people to recognize you, right? So that's arrogance, right? However, we can holy the arrogance. We can take the arrogance, and instead of being low-level Yetzer Hara, all about your arrogance, we can make it holy and even convert your selfish Yetzer Hara into holiness. How? Give charity, so you'll be thanked publicly. That's great. Give a lot of charity, so the building will be named after you, right? The Cohen and Horowitz Chai Center building. I mean, right? That's you help the Chai Center. You're partnering God's work. You have your name in the building. You're famous. You're on the letterhead. You're famous, and it's holy. So instead of becoming famous by being a Miley Cyrus, right, where God knows what you do to gain fame. No, you're famous because you've taken it to a holy level, right? Colloquially, by the way, Yetzer Hara is translated into lust. I got a big Yetzer Hara. I have such a big Yetzer Hara for sex. That's the most common colloquial expression. But it could be, I have a big Yetzer Hara for chocolate. I have a big Yetzer Hara for money. I have a big Yetzer Hara for gossip, sex, etc., etc. You know what's not discussed? Nobody says I have a big Yetzer Hara for Torah. Nobody says that. Nobody says I have a lust for Torah. If anything, they say, yeah, I don't have a big Yetzer Hara for chocolate. and I think the reason why is because as soon as you start talking about a Yetzer Tov, it's boring and you put people to sleep. So therefore you say, I got a big Yetzer Hara for this, but I don't have a big Yetzer Hara for that. And that's how, and that's so common, by the way. That's so common in many Jewish circles. Yeah. I have a big Yetzer Hara to fly first class, but no, I don't have a big Yetzer Hara for to make sure that my food is my steak has to be medium rare, leaning towards rare, and it has to have shallots. But you never hear I have a Yetzer Tov for this and I have a Yetzer Tov for that. You just don't hear it. So remember, once again, balance is key. Balance is key. You're allowed to be selfish. You can't be only selfish. That's why you have a Yetzer Tov. Yetzer Tov tells you, okay, you can be selfish. Because Yetzer Hara wants to be selfish. He wants to treat the body nicely. That's great. I want to pamper myself. I want to go into a salt bath. I want to buy expensive makeup and collagen for my skin. That's great. But buddy, give charity as well. Right? I want to fly first class. That's great. But help somebody on the plane as well while you're there, right? We all know, and this is a fundamental Jewish premise, it's a foundation of all foundations. So, we should have a class on foundations, and maybe we will, under ethics and beliefs, by the way. But a foundation is that if an opportunity comes to you to help somebody, you better help somebody. There's an elderly lady that needs help getting on that plane, you better do it. Because it could be God put you in that position at that moment to fulfill your unique mission for that day, that month, that year, that decade. And can you imagine, that is your mission. That's what God wants you to get. And of course, it's hyperbole, because you don't only have one mission. But that is your mission of the day, the mission of the month, whatever it may be. And you blow it and say, nah, I'm not going to help this person with their bags. I sit in first class. I'm middle of drinking my Cabernet and my pretzels, and I can't help that person. That, you blew your mission. So the Yetzer Tov keeps you sensitive. The Yetzer Tov, Lenny's, by the way, 6'4", 6'5". Yeah. You can fit in regular class, but you're going to have to ask for extra seat room. Leg room. Not seat room, leg room. So, and I can ask for less leg room. Give it to Lenny. That's my Yetzer Tov talking. So the Yetzer Tov, just make sure it keeps you in check. So once again, have good things, live a good life, right? It's all got to be Torah mandated. You can't say, okay, I want to have a good life, so therefore I want to buy from Cirella's the best non-kosher steak I can. No, it has to be kosher. That's a given. But eat it. Enjoy the steak. That's not a problem. But if it's out of your charity budget, that is a problem. So, you get the drift. Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara. Make sure you balance. Make sure they're in check. Make sure you're doing as much as you can. And at the same time, have a beautiful, healthy, comfortable, passionate, top-rate life. But not at the expense of Torah, not at the expense of God, and not at the expense of humanity. That's all. If there's questions, please feel free to ask. You can, now's a good time to ask. If not, rabbi@thechaicenter.com. You can also post here later. We will see comments, etc., etc. I ask you a favor to please share our classes. If you wish to share this class, it's the easiest thing. Just share it. You can even WhatsApp it, let more people study. And I think it's a good idea. Soon we're going to start a topic, foundational beliefs. Foundational beliefs. We're not done with ethics and beliefs by any stretch, but I think that's something we ought to do. God bless. Be well. Live your life to the fullest. Don't let COVID get you down. Don't just try survive. Live. God bless.